All right, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well today. Again, remember this is YouTube, so you can rewind, fast forward, speed things up, slow things down, watch things again, pause, all that type of stuff. And if you got any questions, you can hit me up. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that. Today, real quickly, I want to talk to y'all today about how you answer arguments. I know that this seems pretty dumb, but before camp, we like to start and sort of rebuild on the stuff we know so it becomes second nature. So basically, when you answer an argument in debate, anytime they say something of substance, you want to answer that argument, whether it's like a card, an argument, sort of like synthesis idea, so like counterplan outweighs DA, or captures a net benefit or something like that. You want to be able to answer that thing or that little block basically on your flow. And you just don't look at that thing and answer it. There's a basic mechanic to how that works. So what I'm going to teach you today is called ICEE. It's one of those kind of like basic debate mechanics, kind of like pumping your arms when you're like running in a track race, or like CSing when you're playing League of Legends, or like I don't know, where you block if you're a lineman in football, that end up becoming like things that are second nature, and once you learn them are easy to exploit to win debates against those who have like no clue what they're doing, or just like don't follow those basic mechanics. Like, obviously, if I'm using the right form, pumping my arms in track, somebody who's not doing that, I'm probably gonna beat them running. So here's my take on that in debate. Basically, your opponent is gonna answer an argument that you make in the debate. So you'll have an argument, and then they'll have something that will answer that, and you need to figure out what to do then. So I think it's pretty easy to remember ICEE, which is identify, compare and contrast, extend, and evidence. Sometimes it doesn't always fall in this direct order. Sometimes extend comes before compare and contrast. Sometimes it's intertwined between those two levels. But it's easier if you just remember it ICEE. So if you're ever just like in a debate and you have no idea what's going on, it's an argument you've never seen, it's some spin on something, all you have to do is remember ICEE, which is identify, compare, contrast, extend, evidence. So the basic syntax for kind of what this looks like is ICEE. The Afferneg says something. Their evidence is bad because blank. Compare and contrast. But our evidence is better. Extend our evidence that says this, that turns their evidence, that says this. Our evidence is better than their evidence because this. Then evidence. You can read new evidence in the debate. So this is the basic syntax for how that happens, right? They make an argument. What do? You have no idea what's going on. You identify that argument. You compare and contrast that argument with arguments you've made in the debate by extending arguments that you've already made in the debate, and then making new arguments through reading evidence or just making an analytical argument, right? There's lots of takes on what this could be. This is just a basic syntax for how to do that. So, y'all can do this pretty easily and look at past flows and do this. I want to give you sort of one thought out example for how this happens on the education topic, given the evidence that y'all have already cut and produced on the topic. So, you can take out a flow sheet or something like that. You can pause the video if you want. And there are going to be 3 speeches in the sample speech that I'm going to give. They're going to come up on the screen here, that has everything that I just talked about too. If you want to just snap that, or I can send this to you. And you can use the sample as a sample for when you give speeches or things of that nature. All right, so the AF team gets up. They say, increased funding to recruitment is key to prevent future military bust. Wagner 218. Increasingly strong civilian labor market and declining budget erode the bargaining of recruiters. Military recruiting will be characterized by boom and bust period, strong economy, and smaller recruiting budget is shrinking the military. Military should expand NPS recruit quality to fall. All right, so that should be column 1. All right, so then obviously you can't just there's nothing in ICEE to extend yet, right? So this is like a 1AC. The 1NC would just directly answer an argument like this. So let's read the 1NC to this now, which you can put in the next column on your flow. All right, so this is the neg card. I'm going to read it now. You can flow it. Recruitment at schools has become corporatized and a market for bodies to fuel wars. Nonomi 4:16:16. Public schools in the United States have increasingly come to resemble the military and prison systems with their hiring of military generals as school administrators. Militarized education in the United States needs to be understood in relation to the enforcement of global corporate imperatives. They expand the markets through the real and symbolic violence of war. Militarism and the promotion of violence as virtue pervade all areas of life. Militarized schooling America encompasses military education and education as enforcement. Military recruitment has been expanded. So, that's your basic neg speech. I'll give you a second. And myself a second, I guess. So, now you got 2 speeches. Now, I've already pre-written an example to ICEE, so it's easy for me to answer this right now. You can follow along, and then based on what I've done here, you can just kind of recreate this, or just look at past flows, cover up a speech that you did, and just go through and do this. And again, your goal is not to write this all out like I've done it, but just to be able to think ICEE in your head and be able to go through it. So before I even look at this right now, right, ICEE, identify their NOMI recruitment at schools evidence, blah, 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 blah. Compare that with the AF evidence that I've already read. Extend the Wagner evidence. It says this. Now read a new piece of evidence, right? So even without even thinking of that, just thinking ICEE in my mind, I just thought that up, right? That's not pre-scripted. That's just off the dome right now. So yeah. So let's get to the example that I actually wrote. So here it is. You can follow along in the ICEE format. It's written out. This is also not sponsored by ICEE. But yeah, I like ICEEs. The neg says that recruitment is a corporate tool of the military. Their Nonomi evidence. First, their evidence is bad because it comes from a biased source. Obviously, a national network opposing militarizing youths thinks that everything under the sun is probably a root cause of militarized society. They probably think that the Girl Scouts who sell Girl Scout cookies promote women to work at Goldman Sachs that promotes bad forms of economic labor. Also, you should scrutinize their evidence because it isn't peer-reviewed and it's just some random page on the Nonomi website and actually doesn't even cite an author. And our Wagner evidence already turns this, and we're going to already turn this argument by saying that the type of academic growth that they criticize is actually good and that we should create more of it. So you can extend our Wagner in 2016 evidence now that turns this fundamental concept and says that funding for recruitment increases the labor market and that military recruitment in schools actually leads to a strong economy that has boom cycles. A smaller recruiting budget and quality of recruits directly correlates to a military bust, which turns their argument in the debate. Our evidence is better than their argument because it comes from a Naval Reserve officer who knows how these systems work, and that should be preferred over their Nonomi evidence. Lastly, an additional piece of evidence that it's not the root cause. Military recruitment in schools isn't the only way that military recruits kids. They also do marketing via video games and TV. This is Gray 2416, no relation to Daniel. Access to schools isn't the only route into children's lives. Department of Defense spends billions each year on video game development. They're sponsoring consulting on Hollywood films. Producer Ian Bryson enthusing about the movie's Pentagon ties. We want to cooperate with the Pentagon to show them off the most positive light. These effort to reach kids as young as preschool, priming them to think of war and soldiering as cool and exciting toys, video games, sports, TV shows, movies, all normalize not only the military but combat itself. First-person shooter games do desensitize heavy players to images of violence. Classroom discussions of military careers that don't inform children about the realities of war have an effect of inviting children to the fantasies about war. So again, this is a basic example. It's, obviously given the time constraints of a debate, this is really long to answer an argument. That's why the neg has a block, all sorts of things like that. You can condense this, but for the purposes of an example, that's what I have for you. If you have any questions, you can let me know. You can also use the basis for this to do a bunch of drills and all that type of stuff if you want. I already explained that. So yeah, have a great day.